Welcome to the second annual Virtual Car Show, proudly presented by the Graham Owners Club International. We're excited to bring together enthusiasts from across the country to celebrate the engineering, style, and innovation that defined every Graham-built automobile. While the Graham Mark had a relatively short production run, its impact on automotive design and its loyal following have stood the test of time. These cars continue to inspire admiration for their bold styling, advanced engineering, and the dedication of the people who preserve them. The first car in our show belongs to Kenny and Julie Sayer. They received this Graham about 10 years ago from Julie's grandmother after her grandfather passed away. Since then, the restoration has been a slow but meaningful journey, bringing the car back to life piece by piece. This is a 1939 Sharknose Model 96, one of the most distinctive designs Graham ever produced. Kenny and Julie are restoring the car back to its original specifications with a few thoughtful modifications for safety and reliability. The original factory color, airliner gray, will be returning to the body, giving the car the elegant look it had when it first left the assembly line. The interior cloth was specially remade by SMS to match the authentic pattern and preserve the original style. Heat Project is now approaching the final stages, and the Sayers are excited to see the car return to the road. This restoration honors both the Graham legacy and the family history behind the vehicle. It stands as a tribute to Julie's grandparents and to the craftsmanship of the era. This 1939 Sharknose Model 96 is a beautiful example of dedication, heritage, and the passion for preserving Graham-built automobiles. The next car we'll be looking at belongs to Keith and Barb Hunsberger. Their Graham is also a 1939 Sharknose, but this one is the rare combination coupe. What really sets it apart is the factory supercharger, which makes it a true Model 97. Keith has put a lot of time into improving the car, and the results are clear as the project continues to move forward. One of Keith's biggest challenges is figuring out how to complete the paint and bodywork without losing a full driving season. Like many classic car owners, he wants to enjoy the car while still pushing the restoration forward. Even though Keith calls this a work in progress, the car already stands out as a strong example of the Sharknose design and the engineering Graham was known for. The Hunsberger's Model 97 shows how dedication and steady improvements can keep a historic car on the road while honoring its original character. With its supercharged power and unique combination coupe body style, this Graham is both rare and impressive. It represents the passion, creativity, and commitment that make the Graham community so special. The next group of cars belongs to Kim Widrick, who owns a 1929 Model 827 sedan, a 1940 supercharged Shark, and a 1929 Model 619. Kim's journey into the world of Graham automobiles began almost by accident. Back in the early 1990s, while running his automotive shop, a customer mentioned an old car sitting in a shed in British Columbia. Curious, Kim started asking questions and researching the Graham Page name, a mark he knew very little about at the time. The more Kim learned, the more interested he became, and before long he decided to go see the car for himself. When he arrived, he found a 1929 Graham Page surrounded by piles of parts. It was rough, incomplete, and clearly a major project, but most of the important pieces were still there. Where many people would have seen a daunting restoration, Kim saw potential and opportunity waiting to be brought back to life. A deal was made, the car was loaded up, and that moment marked the beginning of a passion that has lasted for decades. That first, Graham sparked an enthusiasm that eventually led to the impressive collection you see here today. Kim's cars stand as a testament to dedication, perseverance, and the excitement that comes from preserving the Graham legacy for future generations of enthusiasts. The next car in our presentation belongs to Lee and Becky Harrison. This is their 1941 Graham Hollywood Supercharged, and Lee proudly calls it the best of the 3 Grahams he has owned. Over the years, he sold one and tragically lost another in a fire, but 2 years ago he found this one in Erie, Pennsylvania. Since then, he has been restoring it back to its original factory specifications. Even in its current stage, the car has already made a strong impression. The very first time Lee took it to a show, the Hollywood earned the People's Choice Award, a clear sign of how striking and well-preserved this supercharged model truly is. The car has also brought home a Best in Show trophy, proving that the Hollywood's unique styling and performance still capture attention wherever it goes. Lee's dedication to restoring this Hollywood Supercharged reflects both his passion for the Graham mark and his determination to preserve one of the most distinctive designs of the era. With its powerful supercharged engine and sleek Hollywood body lines, this car stands as a remarkable example of Graham engineering. It's a tribute to perseverance, craftsmanship, and the love of keeping automotive history alive. The next car in our show belongs to Bob Feldes, and it's a 1934 Graham Model 68. Not only is this a fine example of a vintage Graham, Bob takes this car out as much as possible. Thanks to the thoughtful modifications he's made over the years, he has no trouble driving it wherever he wants to go. Bob enjoys using his Graham the way it was meant to be used, out on the open road and shared with others. One of Bob's proudest moments with this Model 68 came when he received the longest driven award. He earned it by driving the car all the way from his home in North Carolina to the national meet held in Gunnison, Colorado. That kind of trip would intimidate most owners of modern classics, but Bob embraces the adventure and trusts his Graham to carry him wherever the road leads. Bob takes great pride in driving his vehicles, and he especially enjoys the conversations they spark whenever he stops. People are drawn to the car's style, history, and the fact that it's still being used as a true driver. His Model 68 stands as a reminder that these cars were built to be enjoyed, and Bob's enthusiasm helps keep the Graham spirit alive every time he turns the key. The next group of cars comes from Graham and Raywin Fenn, who have submitted 3 vehicles to be judged today. The first is their 1937 Graham Crusader. Graham's Graham journey began in 2006 when he purchased this car from a builder who had it stored in a shed and covered in timber. The Crusader was in very poor condition, with a corroded cylinder head that could not be repaired, making a full restoration the only option. Graham committed to a complete restoration, a process that took 2.5 years. He had a brand new cylinder head made in the United States, then rebuilt the engine to bring the car back to life. Graham handles all the mechanical work and woodwork himself. The Bedford cloth upholstery was completed by a local upholsterer, while a professional painter friend finished the bodywork to factory quality standards. The Crusader was re-registered in New Zealand in 2009 and has been used extensively ever since. Graham and Raywin have enjoyed thousands of miles of vintage motoring, competitive rallying, and even many weddings with this car. Today, the Crusader continues to provide comfortable, reliable travel, carrying the Fenns on countless memorable journeys and standing as a proud example of their dedication to the Graham legacy. The second submission from Graham and Raywin Fenn is their 1934 Graham Blue Streak Coupe. Around 2007, Graham heard about a Graham coupe that had been imported new into New Zealand in 1934. Nearly 10 years later, he was put in touch with the son of the original owner, who had hoped to restore the car but could no longer complete the work due to health issues. He wanted someone who could bring his father's memory back to life. In 2017, Graham was able to purchase the car and began a full 3-year restoration, much of it completed during the COVID lockdowns. The project required a complete body-off rebuild, stripping the car to bare metal and replacing all the woodwork along with many rusted or missing panels. A trusted painter friend handled the stunning exterior finish, while a local upholsterer completed the leather interior. Graham did all the final assembly himself. The finished Blue Streak Coupe earned Restoration of the Year in their provincial vintage car club, a testament to the quality of the work. Today, the Fens use this rare coupe extensively for club events and rallies. As the only one of its kind in New Zealand, it always turns heads. Most recently, it completed a 2-week trip through the South Island as part of an international vintage rally with 600 vehicles taking part. The third entry from Graham and Raywin Fenn is their 1929 Graham Page 612 Coupe. After completing the Crusader restoration, they heard about a Graham stored in a shed that had been completely stripped down. What they found was a rolling chassis, 48 boxes of parts, and a collection of guards, bonnets, and body pieces. A deal was made, everything was loaded onto a trailer, and the long restoration journey began. A full 3-year restoration followed, requiring extensive searching for many missing components. The project was challenging, but the results were worth it. The 612 Coupe went on to earn Restoration of the Year in their provincial vintage car club. Graham completed all the woodwork, mechanical work, and body repairs up to the painting stage. A local upholsterer handled the leather interior, while a trusted painter friend finished the exterior. Since returning the Graham Page to the road, Graham and Raywin have traveled thousands of miles across New Zealand, from the top of North Cape to the bottom of the South Island, and from east to west. Much of their travel has been on original metal roads, through dust, water crossings, and farm tracks. The 612 Coupe has proven to be a remarkably reliable vehicle, providing countless hours of enjoyable motoring. The next car belongs to one of our newest members of the Graham Club, Hunter Brink. His car is another 1939 Graham Sharknose, and it comes with a powerful family story. These photos show the day Hunter picked up the Graham from his grandpa Jim in Kansas. Jim's father had wrecked this very car and passed away when Jim was only about 7 years old, leaving a lasting memory tied to the vehicle. Years later, Jim tracked the car down, bought it back, and began restoring it. He even had it running and drove it as recently as 8 years ago. But as time went on, Jim's health made it difficult to continue the project. About a year ago, Hunter and his family traveled to Kansas with a truck and trailer. Hunter purchased the car from Jim for $2,000 and brought it home to Austin to continue its story. Hunter hasn't gotten the Sharknose running yet, but he spends a lot of time with the car and is determined to make progress. With its deep family history and a young enthusiast now carrying the torch, this Graham represents both legacy and new beginnings. Over the next year, Hunter hopes to move the restoration forward and bring this meaningful 1939 Sharknose back to life. As one of the newest members of the Graham Club, Hunter is already surrounded by people who want to see him succeed. Many of the connections he makes this week will help him find the parts he needs and gain the knowledge to get the Sharknose running again. With the support of the Graham community and his own determination, Hunter is well on his way to bringing this meaningful family car back to life.